Welcome to the 1 year anniversary of Hunt Camp Mail. I really didn't think that I was going to continue this segment for an entire year, but I did. I basically did it as a way to interact with my viewers after I removed Desert Dog Outdoors from social media. I actually like responding to mail better than monitoring a social media platform. And it's a great way to interact with serious hunters and anglers without having to deal with the spam and trolling that dominates social media nowadays. Even though I did get one stalker, Desert Dog Outdoors isn't a money making venture for me. I do it because I love filming my adventures and sharing my knowledge and learning from other like minded hunters and anglers like you. This channel is not only an escape for my viewers, it's also an escape for myself. I often watch my own videos from kind of a third person perspective, so I myself can re experience things again for the first time. I recently went through a very serious loss in my life. Basically, the most serious loss a man can experience, the worst type of loss. And making these videos has actually been an escape for me, a welcome escape. Well, many of you right now are super excited because of the upcoming dove opener. As usual, dove loads sold out by the end of July, and everyone is trying to figure out, where they're going to set up when the sun crests over the horizon on the morning of September 1st. The symphony of shotgun blasts filling the air, is the opening act to hunting season and gives us hope and excitement going into deer, elk, quail, and duck season. So that's enough rambling for now. Let's get to the mail for August. And our first question for August is from Seth in Colorado. Seth wrote, "You seem like one of the most logical people on YouTube, so I thought I would ask you to settle an argument. My buddy started using Barnes bullets because he says he doesn't want his family to get lead poisoning. I brought up the point that no hunter has ever died from lead poisoning, and we ended up getting in an argument. What are your thoughts on this?" Well, actually, Seth, in my opinion, you're both right. There's many studies of lead levels in hunters that use lead bullets, and they've actually studied a lot of deer carcasses shot with lead bullets. I won't go into the specific details of these studies, but we do know two things. Fact number one, scans and x-rays of deer shot with lead bullets have a lot of lead particles in them. And these particles are actually spread out throughout the game animal's meat a lot more than, a lot of people think, or even scientists initially thought. So there is a lot of lead in deer carcasses shot with lead bullets. And we know fact number two, people who eat meat shot with lead bullets have higher levels of lead in their system. But, and here's the big but, the lead levels in their blood are still below minimum government standards for lead. So, in my opinion, it comes down to your own personal risk assessment. You could argue that lead bullets are perfectly safe because lead levels in your blood are still below the minimum threshold for lead in the human body. Bullet lead is also non-soluble metallic lead. So the risk is very minimal compared to the types of soluble industrial lead out there. On the other hand, you could also argue that an increase in toxic lead levels in your body is a bad thing. You could argue that you should never poison your body, even a little bit, even if the government tells you it's okay to do so. So, like I said, you and your buddy are both right. No hunter has died of lead poisoning from eating his deer meat. But at the same time, eating lead does slightly increase toxic lead levels in your blood. So it comes down to a personal risk assessment for you and your family. Luckily, you still live in a state where you have that choice. And our next question is from Kent. Kent didn't say where he is from, so just Kent. Kent wrote, the question I have is about the Swift A-frame. I have my first elk trip planned for next fall, and I'm working up loads for a few rifles to narrow it down to the one I will take. Is the A-frame too tough for elk? I have them in 180 grain for the .6 and the 300 Win Mag, and some in 225 grain for 338 Win Mag. Well, Kent, I don't think that the A-frame is too much for elk at all. It is a really tough bullet. I mean, it's not going to perform like a partition or some of the other bullets on thin skin game, but the A-frame would be a great bullet for elk, especially at those magnum velocities. And if you're shooting at animals under 300 yards, I think the A-frame will work perfectly. And our next question is from Kenneth. Kenneth didn't say where he was from. Kenneth wrote, I just recently watched your video on hunting bullet hype. You hit the nail right on the head with that one. I have a quick question, as I know you are a big fan of the Nosler partition bullet, and I know you cannot hunt with lead bullets in California. Do you use the Nosler partition when you're hunting elsewhere, or do you stick with the Barnes bullets that you use in California? Well, Kenneth, it really depends. If I want to shoot heavier bullets at slower velocities, I'll always use that partition when I can. For instance, if I was using my 30-06 for deer in Idaho, I would use my standard 168 grain Barnes TTSX load for that. But if I wanted to shoot a 200 grain bullet out of my 30-06 for moose, the partition would probably be my first choice for that. The partitions have two advantages over the Barnes bullets, in my opinion. First of all, they perform better at lower velocities. And secondly, the short bullet profile allows me to shoot heavier bullets in slower twist barrels. So monolithic and lead bullets both have a place in my hunting arsenal when I leave the state of California. And our next question is from Rick from California. Rick wrote, Desert Dog, I found your episode on the rise and fall of the Remington 870. I own 3 870s. The Super Mag was a disaster and I should have sent it back to the factory, but I didn't. It had a bad extractor, causing it to jam constantly. One day, I lost 3 mallards because of jams. It really bugged me about not being able to use that gun. Just recently, the light went on when I was fiddling with it. The extractor was not holding onto the shell long enough and was causing the jam. I replaced it and the issue was over, except for stuck shells in the chamber. In the meanwhile, I had picked up a new Express, which shot lights out, but the shells got stuck more than occasionally and would not eject. Then out of the blue comes the mighty Desert Dog to save the day. After watching your video, I was able to repair all the barrels with mostly steel wool. I'm planning to shoot it on the opening day of dove season. I went to the range and it shot perfectly with a wide array of target and duck loads. Thanks again. I will be mindful of you when I pound the hell out of doves and ducks this year. Keep those episodes coming. Well, thank you for the letter, Rick. Honestly, letters like yours keep me making these videos. The fact that I helped out a random guy to put his hunting guns back into service for hunting season, really puts things into perspective for me. I'm honored and humbled that you'll have me in your thoughts, when you use your gun this hunting season. Our next letter is from Andy from Portland, Oregon. Andy wrote, "Thank you for sharing your passion for hunting on YouTube. I didn't grow up hunting, fishing, or in the outdoors, but as I've gotten older, I've grown to just not just appreciate nature, but also the importance of clean, ethically sourced food. I see hunting and fishing as a big part of that, and I've been trying to build that into my life. I found friends to fish with. I've been practicing, I traded guitar lessons to a butcher for some basic butchery and field dressing skills, and I've been practicing with my Model 70 chambered in 30-06 on the range. But getting set up with hunters to go with and show me the ropes has been harder. Do you have any advice for getting started in the community?" And that's a great question right there. And I actually get asked this frequently. I think I've answered a question similar to this a few times in past hunt camp mails. But most of us had close family members and friends to mentor us into hunting and fishing. And you really needed that back in the day. But I feel that you have more advantages and resources at your disposal to be self taught today than ever before. I'm assuming that you already took a hunter safety course and got your hunting license. And in addition to that, as you stated, you already learned to shoot your gun, field dress your kill, and butcher the meat at home. So 50% of what you need from a mentor is already known to you. So now you just have to learn how to find and stalk game animals. And here's my advice. Download the Onyx hunting app onto your phone so you can locate public land in your areas that hold animals. Then scout these areas hard. I mean, this means putting on your backpack, binoculars, and hiking boots and doing some legwork. I'm sorry, I had to temporarily interrupt the video. My Chihuahua was barking at somebody that walked by. Man, those dogs are just pains in the asses. But anyways, back to your question, Andy. After you download that Onyx hunting app to find spots, you need to hike or drive to high points and glass all the surrounding land carefully for animals. It's best to glass in the early morning and evening when animals are the most active, and you'll eventually find legal game doing that. Then plan a stalk on the animal where the animal will be upwind of you the entire time. When you're stalking an animal, don't concentrate on things like camo and stuff like that. The wind is everything. The wind is everything when you're putting on a stalk. If the animal is moving, and you can't really just stalk up close to it. If the animal's moving, you have to plan a stalk to an ambush point, all while keeping the wind in your face. And it doesn't always work for you. So expect lots of failures and don't get frustrated. Most hunters go back to camp empty-handed at the end of any given day, even me. So keep things in perspective and just enjoy the fact that you're out in nature getting good exercise. It's, in my opinion, though, it's really good for beginners to practice finding and stalking animals in the off season. That way, you know what to do when it's time to hunt for real. When you can reliably get within about 100 yards of game animals, you'll have it figured out better than most of these internet hunters do. Now, if it sounds like all of this is a lot of work, it's because it is. But the reward is a very satisfying experience and a connection to nature that very few people have. But honestly, I'm going to give you probably the best advice right now. To most new hunters, I recommend that they do their first hunt with an experienced hunting guide. This is a good shortcut to learning many of the details of hunting. And will be multitudes, and your chances of success will be multitudes greater, especially if the guide has access to some type of private property. So, even though I'm a pretty seasoned hunter, I'm a pretty seasoned outdoorsman, I still use hunting and fishing guides occasionally, and I always learn something, and I'm a better hunter because of those experiences. And our next question is from Hagen from Germany. Hagen asked, "What vintage cartridge, except for the 300 H&H, do you wish would make a comeback?" Whew. He always asks some really good questions. Uh, that's a hard one to answer, especially since you took the 300 H&H off the table. But I wish the 404 Jeffrey was more popular and that the 284 Winchester made it. I also think the 32 Winchester, that 32 Winchester Special, was probably the best lever gun round ever made, and that's pretty much dead nowadays. But if I had to bring a completely dead cartridge back from the grave, it might be the 256 Newton. There really is no one right answer to this question. It's kind of a loaded question. And our next question is from Christopher from Colorado. Christopher wrote, "I just watched your video on dove hunting and really appreciate it. I live in Colorado and Eurasian Collared Dove are legal to harvest year-round, and I'm having a blast shooting them when they are on branches where I can positively ID them. I was wondering if you go dove hunting out of season and shoot them, Eurasian Collared Doves, on the wing. If so, how do you avoid shooting mourning dove accidentally? I thought I have gone through videos about IDing them versus other kind of dove based on tail shapes and shot a mourning dove yesterday out of season on accident, and I feel really bad. I can't find definitive sources to help with this problem. Are there differences in flight patterns between species? You mentioned that Eurasian collared dove feed higher up versus mourning doves that always feed on the ground. Is Eurasian collared dove hunting out of the regular season bad manners in the hunting community?" Well, that is a fantastic question, Christopher. First of all, before I go any further, let's put things in perspective here. Euros are an invasive species, which is why you can harvest them all year with no limit in most places. It's best that novice dove hunters don't shoot doves on the wing out of season because identifying doves in flight is a skill that takes lots of time to develop. The law doesn't care if you make an honest mistake. It's your responsibility to make a positive ID before you point your gun at something. Duck hunters are required to know not only the species of duck in flight, but also their sex. This skill takes years to develop. I'll go out in the duck blind with people, and especially I'm partially colorblind, so I have I'm wearing glasses here, with my vision, it's really hard for me to identify most ducks, and I go out with some guys that are just amazing. I mean, just far off silhouettes, and they know exactly what it is. They know all the nuances of the different sounds the ducks make. But that skill took years and years and years for them to develop. They're eventually able to key in on the size, the shape and silhouette, flight habits, and sound of these birds. If you want to hunt collared dove out of season, you need to develop these same types of skills. You won't be able to see details like the band on the neck of a collared dove while they're up flying around. So, remove that fantasy from your mind. Also, Euros pair up at the same time that the mourning doves pair up together. So, in the off season, both doves will be traveling in pairs and acting the same, so they both have similar flight habits. I mean, if you're walking around in the high grass, maybe jump shooting doves, You'll notice that mourning doves make that classic whirling sound, that sound with their wings when they take off from the ground. Which but that sound is mostly absent with the Euros. But this is of no help to you while you're shooting passing doves out of the sky. Euros also behave differently than mourning doves. Euros love to be near human habitation, just like their other European invasive cousins, the rock pigeon. Euros like to perch on things while they feed a lot of the time, while mourning doves like to feed pretty much exclusively on the ground. Mourning doves uh, eat, almost exclusively seeds and grain waste, but the Euros have a much more varied diet, I think. I grow grapes in my backyard, and we have to take measures to keep the Euros off my grapevines because they'll pick them clean as soon as they start to ripen. But once again, these behavioral differences are really of no help to you when you plan on shooting at flying birds. So when you're out shooting doves on the wing, the only determining factor between species are basically size and silhouette. Euros are bigger than mourning doves and tend to have more of a pigeon type silhouette than your classic dove silhouette. The squared off tail that really distinguishes the Euro from the mourning dove in flight, that could be a determining characteristic if you get to see that side of the dove. But you have to be really careful because if you have white-winged doves in your area, they have the same squared off tail profile and can be easily confused with a Euro dove. In my area where I live, the vast majority of our doves don't migrate at all. They're resident populations because our climate allows it, and we have year-round food and water sources for them. This means that there's a good mixture of Euro and mourning doves in the same area all year round, and they're often mingled together. So this makes accidentally shooting the wrong dove very likely, and people do it all the time. Where I live, though, onto your comment about is it ethical or bad manners. Um, where I lived, it's considered okay and often more ethical to shoot Euros off of branches or off the ground rather than in flight. This way, you can make a 100% positive identification. And don't think of Euros as a game bird. Think of them as an invasive species that tastes good, because that's exactly what they are. And our next question is from Manny in Idaho. Manny wrote, Desert Dog, I really love the content of your channel, and I especially love your videos, especially the cartridge reviews. I recently watched your hunting ethics video, and it made me rethink a lot of my own preconceived notions about hunting and hunting ethics. You are definitely a true sportsman, while somebody like me, I'm still down at the shooting stage. I just started hunting 2 years ago and hope to be a sportsman like yourself one day. Thank you for what you do. Well, thanks for the kind words, Manny, in the letter. And, I could tell you probably just got out of some form of hunter safety education course because, they usually teach the 5 levels of hunting, and the level 1's like the shooting phase. Level 2 is the bag limit phase. Level 3 is the trophy phase, and level 4 is the method phase, and number 5 is the true sportsman phase. And I remember that just from my when I was an NRA certified instructor. I still am an NRA certified instructor, but when I was going through instructor training, and I don't know who made up that system or those type of arbitrary rules where hunters are judged like that. I mean, quite honestly, um, you could be at the highest echelon of the hunting craft, and you're in all 5 levels sometimes on the same hunt. I mean, I'm a gun geek. I care about accurate guns and accurate reloads. So maybe I'm in stage one, the shooting phase. When I go out on the dove opener, I want to I want to bring home my 15 doves and have a big dove cook off in my backyard while it's still hot. And maybe I'm in the bag limit phase. Um, and I've never been a trophy hunter, but you'll be damn sure that if I'm up in the Sierras and a record book muley gets into my binoculars, I'm I'm not picking the lesser bucks. I'm going after that one. So maybe I'm a trophy hunter that day. I always care about the method of hunt, but let's say it's getting dark really quick. I have just a little bit of time left, and instead of creeping up and making a 90-yard shot, I'm going to make a 200-yard shot. Well, that just throws the whole method phase out the window, doesn't it? So, I mean, those are just arbitrary titles that some guy made up. Some guy who probably didn't even hunt a lot made that up. I don't know. I don't really go by any of that, but thanks for the compliment. And our next question is from Randy from Bullhead City. I actually have some property just northeast of you, Randy. Some great quail hunting, rabbit hunting, rattlesnake hunting. A lot of good times there. Anyway, Randy wrote, Desert Dog. I do most of my dove hunting over on the California side because we have some secret spots over there that are just loaded with doves. Unfortunately, hunting in California, I have to use steel shot. I've really tried to make steel shot work in both my 12 and 20 gauge shotguns and just can't seem to find the right combination. I noticed in your beginning guide to dove hunting video, you indicated that you like to use number 6 steel shot for doves. I tried that and it's just not working for me. It seems like you can go all over YouTube to look at write-ups and reviews on steel shot, and it's all geared towards duck and waterfowl hunters, nothing towards upland, and really nothing towards dove hunters. Being that you're the lone voice of California, can you please create a video on how you select your steel shot, pattern it, and select chokes for it? Please do this video. Well, thanks for the letter, Randy. And you're absolutely right, man. You can search through the depths of YouTube, and just about every video out there on steel shot is geared towards waterfowl hunters. I mean, there's really almost nothing out there on the selection and use of steel shot for upland birds. And in particular, there's really nothing for using steel shot on doves out there that I'm aware of other than my beginner's guide to hunting doves video that I put out. So I don't know. Maybe there's a niche there. To tell you the truth, I just ordered a choke for my 20 gauge A400 that I really want to try out. So maybe when I go to the range and pattern that, I'll bring some other chokes with me and various brands and weights of steel shot and do some patterning. And maybe I'll take my camera out there and take advantage of shooting a video for you while I'm out there. I'll consider that. That's a good idea. And our next question is from Jeffrey in California. Jeffrey wrote, just watch your video on hunting dove for beginners. I just wanted to say thank you. That was so helpful and full of really good information. I'm fairly new to hunting in general and just started hunting upland game last year. My son just turned 8 and is really interested in hunting and got his hunting license this year. We drew an opening day junior dove hunt in Fresno County and are really excited to get him out there for his first hunt. Got any advice or ways to make sure his first hunting experience is a good one? I really want this to be a special time for him and not ruin it. Love seeing that. Congrats on getting the opportunity to start your son out early into the hunting fraternity. But be mindful that an 8-year-old is going to have a really hard time shooting doves out of the air. I mean, it might even be near impossible for them. So be sure to lower your expectations and be prepared to make the experience positive, even though he'll struggle to be successful. I've never seen a shotgun that really would fit an 8-year old well, not even the youth models. And shotgun fit is absolutely everything. Also, children that young will usually lack the cognitive ability to adequately lead targets with three-dimensional situational awareness. So, if I were you, I would take them out to shoot clays with the understanding that clays are much easier to hit than doves. And that should give you an idea of what you're in for so you could be prepared when you take them out on an actual hunt. Just don't let them get frustrated. A frustrated child that young will usually give up rather than try harder. And our last piece of mail is very, very interesting. You're going to like this one. I received a piece of mail from a well-known former host of a television show and a current successful YouTube creator. Like I said, he was a well-known hunter, a TV star, and he's currently a YouTube celebrity. And I'm going to keep his name a secret because, he didn't give me permission to put his letter out in the public spotlight. But if he gives me permission, I will. He wrote, "Desert Dog, we met many years ago at an SCI convention and spent a week together with Tony Rayos on a boat in the Sea of Cortez. It looks like we are both grayer in the face, but unlike myself, you look fantastic. The years have been good to you, my friend. We were brainstorming ideas for a show about hunting ethics, and my wife directed my attention to your hunting ethics video for us to research. At first, I exclaimed, 'Hey, I know that guy.' Then I actually watched that video and thought it was the most amazing and relevant lecture on the subject in my lifetime. I then spent the entire Sunday binge watching your channel. Many of your videos are absolutely far beyond educational expectations for YouTube. Your channel is a hidden gem on the internet, and I can't believe it took me so long to find it. Please contact me before the next convention so we can have a beer and talk. If you need help launching any projects or want to collaborate, please feel free to email me at any time." I then wrote him back a big letter thanking him, and I also asked for an honest critique on how I can grow my own channel and improve quality for my viewers. And he responded, "I don't actually do most of the media work or video editing. I'm a talker and a writer. My production guy saw several of your videos though, and this is the feedback we agree on. Number one, your actual content and knowledge of the subject matter is way beyond what most professionals in the industry publish. You are a walking encyclopedia of outdoor knowledge. Honestly, I'm humbled by much of your knowledge. Number two, you come across as a very likable and trustworthy person. You hold steadfast to your ethical principles and deal with adversity in a respectful manner. You also have a great sense of humor that everyone can clearly understand. Number three, you look the part. You meet the expectations of what a hunter should look like. You are well-spoken, clean-cut, and wear traditional plain gear. Guys who look like slobs or walk around decked out in camo normally give off an aura of amateurism to serious outdoor people. Number four, your channel is visually appealing and you do a great job of drawing attention to your thumbnails. You do a better job of moderating your comments. You do a better job of moderating your comments to keep out spam and trolls than most channels do. This will keep you in good graces with management. I don't know what he means by management, maybe YouTube management. Number five, now for the criticisms from my production crew. There are so many huge TV shows and YouTube channels that have poor content, but have amazing video quality. People automatically assume that high quality video equals expert advice. Your sound and video quality are not up to the high standards of your content. It's obvious that you are using a shotgun mic attached to a DSLR or smartphone. Ditch that mic setup for a quality lavalier or carefully position a boom mic, and it will greatly increase your sound quality. Also, you need to get really into utilizing the audio and video features of professional editing software like Premiere Pro and Vegas Pro, rather than the simple edits you are currently doing. We recommend that you hire a local media professional to handle your film and editing needs. Number 6, although you have much knowledge to give your viewers, your videos run too long because you put too much information in them. People have short attention spans and want to focus on one thing at a time. My production guy couldn't watch half of your quail hunting tutorial without losing interest. Maybe break your videos down into smaller separate videos. Number 7, narrow your content down. Your content is all over the place. One minute it's deer hunting, the next wing shooting, then fly fishing, Africa hunting, knives, saltwater fishing, keychain tools, pants, reloading, etc., etc. You need to put your channel's focus on one thing and make that the bulk of your content. Look at your topics that are getting very few views and stop wasting your time with those. Number 8, and lastly, try to get some sponsors and keep them. I'm not talking about getting free gear from companies to review. I'm talking about real sponsors. Sponsors are what took me from barely making it as a freelance writer to getting a TV show to having a successful alternative media presence. Any company would be proud to have a guy like you promote their products. And trust me, you fit the mold of what they want. Even the Desert Dog Outdoors brand is pretty neat. So that's my advice to you, Mr. Desert Dog. Right now, people are stealing ideas, even your hunt camp mail concept, and getting tens of thousands of views that you should be getting. This industry is tough. People who have been doing this forever, especially those that come from a writing background, don't hesitate to rip off content and discredit others in an attempt to get paid. Wow. Oh, by the way, here's some pics from that Sia Cortez adventure we took a long time ago. But man, I can't believe I got that kind of advice from a guy like that. You know, that was seriously the most profound and detailed critique I've ever received. And, you know, I'm very humbled that he likes my channel and actually watches it. I'm definitely taking him up on his offer for that cold beer in Vegas next January at the SCI convention. But to be honest with myself, I'm really not attempting to make a career out of doing this. You know, I run a successful business and I really like what I do for a living. I also enjoy making these videos, and the fact that it makes a small amount of cash on the side so I can buy more beer, shotgun shells, and a few plane tickets is just a bonus of doing it. In my videos, when I put them together, I usually try to convey a story to my viewers rather than just give you talking points and using flashy editing techniques to keep those with short attention spans watching. You know, I try to give you real information from my perspective rather than just blindly throwing out videos, like you said, with empty content for clicks. You know, I want to make videos that are more like reading a good book than watching a commercial. You know, from a YouTube creator standpoint, I realize that this hurts my channel's performance, but in the end, I'm making videos the way I want to. You know, and if doing this gives me more of like an underground YouTube following, you know, I'm not disappointed with that. You know, also to some of the points you laid out in that letter, I don't have a production crew or an editing guy. I do everything myself and try to fit it into my busy schedule, which means I have to do simple and quick editing and uploads in order to post content on this channel. After I get the footage I want, I literally throw an entire video together and upload it to YouTube in about an hour because that's usually all the time I have. But I'm also, I'm also receptive to sponsors. A lot of people think I'm not, but I am. But it has to be the right sponsors. I've had a scope manufacturer, a very popular flashlight manufacturer, and a couple of clothing companies contact me this year, and they just weren't a good fit for me, either because I didn't really like their products, or because they were, a 100% communist Chinese company like Olight. I've also been offered several free hunts this year, but they weren't free range hunts, so I declined to do those. And I know I'll never make it in the business with this attitude, but that's okay. But I'm definitely going to take your advice on improving my video quality. I've been trying out several different mics in my last few videos. I don't know if you noticed this. This video is being shot with my Samsung Go Mic Mobile. I'm liking this so far, but we'll see how the finished product turns out. I'm also attempting to put more effort into my editing. So I'm just not throwing a video together in an hour or so. I've also added a shot cam to my video arsenal. I'll add shot cam footage to my wing shooting activities this season, so you could see the action from a different perspective and actually see my leads when I shoot down birds. So I promise to make video and audio quality a bigger priority going forward with this channel. Well, that ends another edition of Hunt Camp Mail. I want to thank Matt, Mirza, Doug, Steve from Canada, and Phil from Iowa for your kind words and well wishes. You can contact me with any questions or comments at desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. As always, thanks for watching and good hunting.